My name is Mary. I've been married for 5 years and I work in an office. I met my husband, John, through a matrimonial app. John is 35 years old, 5 years older than. He originally worked for a big company, but after we first started dating, he left his job due to relationship problem at work and has since moved from job to job. I also work, so money is not a problem, but I wish he would work harder at his job. When John and I first got married, it was just the two of us. But after my mother-in-law called us the blues, our lives changed drastically.
Dad collapsed. Come right away.
John and I rushed to the designated hospital when we got there.
Darling, I'm so sorry that you had to go through this alone. I wish I could have been there with you. Please know that I am here for you now and always. You are not alone in this.
There was my mother-in-law sobbing out. We prepared ourselves for the worst, and then the doctor came in.
I need to talk to you all, so please come this way.
He called us into a small room that looked like a conference room. He told us that he was going to need end care and that we shouldn't expect him to return quickly. He also said,
He needs nursing care, so either take care of him at home or find a suitable facility. If you need help finding a place to take care of him, we can help you find a facility that meets your needs.
My mother-in-law isn't working, so she thought she'd take care of him at home.
As I thought, my mother-in-law said she'll take care of him at home. It would cost a lot of money in a facility, so I want to be with my husband.
It was completely understandable that want to be with him, having lived with for so many years. Then, back in the hospital room, my mother-in-law talked to us about taking him home.
I would take care of him, but I think there are limits to what I can do on my own. If it's okay with you two, would you be willing to live with me at our house?
My husband asked,
Mary, is that okay?
but I could understand how hard it was for her. And I didn't have that much of a problem with my mother-in-law. Souls said okay and agreed. I had no idea that it would cause such an outcome. A month later, my father-in-law was discharged from the hospital. We had already moved to my parents' own house, so we went to pick up my father-in-law together. My father-in-law said, I'm not a doctor, but I know that if you don't take care of your body, it won't take care of you.
I'm really sorry.
He was so apologetic that it was almost painful for me. After my father-in-law came home, things were very hectic. Since my mother-in-law was taking care of my father-in-law, she didn't have time to do housework such as cooking. I was in charge of the housework, and John took care of the garbage. Perhaps it was because our lives were so hectic. I gradually felt that everyone was getting frustrated. Sol asked him to do the household chores as well. John sometimes complained about why to take out the garbage. I honestly thought, why don't you just do that? But it was my mother-in-law who was stressed. Ever since she started taking care of my father-in-law, it was obvious that she was getting more and more frustrated every day.
Hey, Mary, the bathroom was dirty. There was hair left on the floor. You need to clean it up. Hey, didn't we just have spaghetti? Don't be lazy to service the same meal with the same month.
She started attacking me. John and my mother-in-law took advantage of me.
Hey, haven't you been lazy lately? Mom's busy taking care of dad, and all you do is work, right? You can't even do your housework properly. She lets you live at her house, so you should be working to pay the rent.
He started saying things like that. After my mother-in-law started taking her frustrations out on me, it felt as though the distance between my mother-in-law and John had shortened. John had always been a bit of a mama, but I felt that the level had gone up even more. But I knew how hard it was to take care of my father-in-law. So I tried my best to reduce the burden on my mother-in-law by cooperating with her during weekends. Then gradually, she became more and more reliant on me. On Saturdays and Sundays, my mother-in-law and John would go out to eat together. John and my mother-in-law went shopping together on weekends. Is John's salary enough to cover all those expenses? I wish he would save the money for the future. But I thought that if it was for my mother-in-law's refreshment, so it was for me too. Sol took care of my father-in-law without saying anything in particular. My father-in-law could talk, so we chatted, laughed, and I enjoyed care of him. Seeing this, my mother-in-law said, "I'm not surprised. You're a good cook."
Mary, thank you for taking care of him. I'm glad you're here.
She may have been able to relax a little, and she began to express her gratitude to me. I was happy to know that I was supporting her. After that, I continued to work and do housework on weekdays, and on weekends, I kept myself busy taking care of my father-in-law. My mother-in-law and John were almost home on weekends. One Saturday, I was chatting with my father-in-law, and I felt him trying to say something to me.
What's wrong, Father? Is something wrong? Do you want a glass of water?
I would ask him, but he would just say, "No."
No,
Please, let me know if there's anything I can do to help.
I told him. Then my father-in-law began to speak reluctantly.
lately my wife doesn't take care of me at all.
He said. So I interpreted it as meaning that she's not taking care of him the way he wants her to.
Is said she is not a professional, so it's not easy for her.
No, it's not like that. Lately, she doesn't change my diaper even once until you come home.
He said sadly.
John also comes to my room. He gave me a cold look and said, "I hope you'll be gone soon."
So, in summary, my father-in-law's story is that he was a young man who had just completed his education when he was drafted into the army. My mother-in-law doesn't take care of her own house, so why should I expect her to take care of mine? She doesn't feed him nor change his diaper. She would put food in front of him, and then she would go into the living room laughing. Furthermore, when he asked John to see his diaper, he said,
You're not a baby, so do it yourself.
he scolded him. It was hard to believe, but the fact that my father-in-law was so serious about it might mean that it was true. I intentionally took the afternoon off to come home early to verify the truth. Only my father-in-law was there, on the table beside my father-in-law's bed. There was breakfast and lunch, which she must have prepared untouched. I also checked with my father-in-law and found that the diapers had never been changed. They were soiled and stuck to his skin. I changed the baby's food and diaper, then gave him back to his grandfather.
He said, "I think you can see. This is the truth."
I apologized to my father-in-law for not believing him.
"I don't want to ask you to do this, but Mary, please, will you take care of me?" He said, "Lately they've been taking my bank card and using my money."
I had no idea they were doing that. I was surprised to see that.
I have several bank accounts, but they haven't found the one with the most money in it yet. So, in order to protect it too, I would like you to take care of me.
I said, okay, with one reply. I told my mother-in-law and John that I would take care of him on their behalf. They happily agreed. Since then, I have been taking care of my father-in-law and doing household chores every evening. My mother-in-law and John seemed to get along every day. But when I left the room for a while, I heard him talking to someone else. My mother-in-law and John would go into their father-in-law's room and make sarcastic comments to him. The other day, my father-in-law said to me, "I think I'm going to buy a new car."
She was asking me about the money.
You're worthless without money. You're making us take care of you, so give me the money.
What? But don't worry. I take care of your father. I won't make you sad from now on.
After saying that, my father-in-law thanked me. He cried and thanked me many times. After that, even when I was taking care of him, my mother-in-law and John would go out together. One day, when I came out of my father-in-law's room, John and my mother-in-law were standing in front of the door, glaring at me.
Hey, you! At first, I was grateful to you for taking care of him.
I couldn't understand what she just said, and I looked at her with a blank stare.
I heard you and him talking about his inheritance. Couldn't hear the details, though.
I had no idea what she was talking about.
He was telling you where the money was. He said something like, "When I'm gone, you'll be on your own."
That's what she was talking about. I understood, but I pretended I didn't know because I promised not to tell them. Then John said,
If you're just after money, I'm divorcing you. Get out of here right now. I don't want to be with a woman like you who is just after money.
who's just in it for the money. He thought I didn't know anything. But I said,
Oh, well, that's okay. I understand. I'm leaving. I also agree with the divorce. But I just want you to know that I'm not here for the money.
decided to leave. And my mother-in-law said, I'm not going to let you do that.
I don't want my husband to go with you. You leave all the bank cards, okay? Well, he has money, but he can't spend it.
How could she say that I was after the money? John also said,
We didn't abandon Dad when he needed care and stayed with him. We're entitled to the money.
what a thing to say.
I don't need the money, so I'm leaving with him. Thank you for everything you've done for me.
Saying that, I took my father-in-law and left the house. We got divorced without any alimony. After that, my life with my father-in-law continued. Both of my parents have passed away. He is not my father by blood, but I enjoyed spending time with him so much that I felt like he was my real father. 1 year later, I received a call from John.
Help me.
He contacted me out of the blue. Actually, my father-in-law passed away a month ago. John and my mother-in-law didn't get along at that time either. What could he want?
That, of course, his son, would get the inheritance. But all I have is debt.
I had known about this when I was alone with my father-in-law. He gave me a bank book containing a large amount of money and told me to use it. So I bought a flat to live with him and save the rest.
He said, You live in a nice place, so you must have money, right? I happened to see you the other day and you went into a very nice apartment, right? I knew Dad left you money. So you were taking care of him for money?
He cursed at me.
I told him, your father had never forgiven you two for what you did to him and for not paying alimony to me.
That's right. My father-in-law was so angry at the TV not paying my alimony that he went out of his way to make an effort.
That's what you inherited from him. So take good care of it. I am a stranger to you now, so please don't get involved with me.
With that, I blocked them so that they no longer contact me. Since then, the two of them have been debt hell. They had been living comfortably, but they were working hard to pay back their debts. John, who has been moving from job to job, can't seem to find a good paying job. So he is working multiple jobs to pay H the money. Mother-in-law had a back injury, perhaps due to her age, and now she needs nursing care. But of course, John is not capable of taking care of her. He leaves her diapers dirty all day long, just like he did with my father-in-law. What she did to him came back to her. I hope they are sorry for what they did. I've been alone since my father-in-law passed away, but I'd like to start moving on to a new life from here.